In September 2024, the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, National Security Advisors convened a highly anticipated meeting in St. Petersburg, Russia. This meeting, held in the aftermath of a rapidly shifting global geopolitical environment, underscored the rising significance of BRICS as a major player in international diplomacy, economic cooperation, and security governance. The discussions held and the outcomes reached marked a pivotal moment for the group, positioning BRICS not only as a counterweight to Western-dominated alliances like NATO, but also as a structured, unified bloc poised to influence the global order. This analysis delves into the meeting's background, key participants, outcomes, and significance, especially in relation to its impact on global security governance and multilateral cooperation. We will also explore why the BRICS mechanism presents a broader, more holistic approach compared to alliances such as NATO. BRICS emerged in 2009 as an economic grouping of 5 of the world's largest emerging markets: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Over time, BRICS has transformed into a major force advocating for a multipolar world order. It opposes the unipolarity or dominance of any single nation or bloc, notably the US-led order. While originally centered on economic issues, BRICS' scope has expanded to cover key geopolitical and security issues. The 2024 meeting is a reflection of BRICS' ambition to evolve into a comprehensive, multilateral platform, facilitating coordinated responses to complex security challenges. The St. Petersburg meeting took place at a time when BRICS membership was expanding, with several countries showing interest in joining the bloc. This further solidified its growing influence in global affairs, positioning BRICS as a formidable counterpart to established Western alliances such as NATO, G7, and the European Union. The September 2024 BRICS National Security Advisors meeting brought together top security officials from the 5 BRICS nations and key partner states. High-ranking security representatives in attendance included Ajit Kumar Doval, National Security Advisor of India; Wang Yi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of China; Khumbudzon Shavheni, Minister in the Presidency of South Africa; Sergei Shoigu, Secretary of the Russian Federation Security Council; Ibrahim Abdulhaq Neto, Deputy Special Assistant to the President of Brazil for Foreign Affairs. Additionally, the meeting was attended by representatives from nations interested in deeper ties with BRICS, such as Ala Youssef, Secretary General of the National Security Council of Egypt; Ali Ahmadian, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council; Ali Al-Shamsi, Secretary General of the Supreme Council for National Security of the UAE; Tadesse Million Lema, Executive Director of the Joint Intelligence and Analysis Center of Ethiopia. The participation of these states signaled BRICS' potential future expansion and its influence on a broader array of countries across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. The 2024 BRICS NSAs meeting was structured around several strategic objectives, focusing on fostering collaboration in the realms of international security, economic stability, and multilateral governance. These objectives included strengthening multilateralism and global governance, addressing emerging security threats, enhancing strategic communication, economic security, and development. This focus allowed BRICS to approach global challenges from a multifaceted perspective that contrasts with the more militarily inclined agenda of NATO. Key discussions and outcomes of the meeting: strengthening multilateralism and global governance. The BRICS bloc has long advocated for a multipolar global order, where power is not concentrated in a few Western nations or organizations. At the heart of the 2024 NSAs meeting was the consensus that the current global governance structures, dominated by institutions like the United Nations, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank, are skewed in favor of Western interests. To counter this, BRICS NSAs discussed ways to restructure global governance frameworks, pushing for reforms that emphasize equality, sovereignty, and non-interference in domestic affairs. Russia and China have been particularly vocal about the need to revise the United Nations Security Council structure to give greater representation to emerging powers. India and South Africa also highlighted the need for reforms in international financial institutions like the IMF to better reflect the realities of today's global economy. Multilateral initiatives discussed creation of a BRICS-led international security forum that mirrors NATO's collective defense but with a focus on economic, cyber, and energy security, rather than just military engagement. Reforms in global financial institutions to support developing countries and improve access to international credit and aid without the stringent conditions often imposed by Western-controlled institutions. Addressing emerging security threats. A major part of the meeting was devoted to discussing the new security threats that BRICS nations and the broader global community face in the 21st century. These include cybersecurity threats, the increasing frequency and sophistication of cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure in BRICS countries, particularly in sectors like banking, energy, and defense, has made cybersecurity a top priority. Russia and China have extensive capabilities in this area, and the meeting explored avenues for deeper collaboration on cyber defense mechanisms. Terrorism. The NSAs discussed the evolving nature of terrorism, particularly the threats posed by extremist groups in regions such as South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. The participants agreed to boost intelligence sharing, operational coordination, and joint counterterrorism exercises to combat this shared threat. Biosecurity and pandemic preparedness. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, BRICS nations have been particularly sensitive to issues of global health security. The meeting called for greater collaboration in developing joint frameworks for addressing future pandemics, bioterrorism, and the creation of secure supply chains for essential medicines and vaccines. Security initiatives proposed. Establishment of a BRICS cybersecurity task force to counter cyber threats through better cooperation and the exchange of best practices. Launch of a BRICS counterterrorism initiative aimed at enhancing coordination in intelligence gathering and counter-terrorism operations across member states. Development of BRICS biosecurity protocols to ensure rapid response and mutual support during health emergencies and pandemics. Economic security and development. Economic security, particularly in the context of the growing interdependence of national economies, was another key focus of the NSA's meeting. The BRICS nations have consistently emphasized the link between economic development and national security, highlighting how instability in one can lead to crises in the other. The group discussed measures to strengthen trade relations within the BRICS bloc and with partner nations, especially in response to economic pressures from Western sanctions on countries like Russia. Develop infrastructure investment strategies to ensure sustainable development and reduce dependence on Western financial systems. Particular attention was paid to the establishment of the BRICS Development Bank, formerly known as the New Development Bank or NDB, which has been pivotal in funding infrastructure and development projects in member states and other developing countries. Economic security measures agreed upon expansion of the BRICS. Development Bank's mandate, allowing it to increase funding for large-scale infrastructure projects across Africa, South America, and Asia. Promotion of local currency trade to reduce reliance on the US dollar, thereby mitigating the impact of Western economic sanctions on BRICS nations. Enhancing strategic communication. The importance of strategic communication between BRICS members was another focal point of the St. Petersburg meeting. With growing tensions in various regions, from the Indo-Pacific to Eastern Europe, the need for transparent, direct, and regular communication channels became evident. BRICS members agreed to hold regular BRICS NSA consultations to keep each other informed of key developments and coordinate responses to global crises. Establish a BRICS communication network aimed at facilitating quick, secure, and coordinated responses to international security threats. The outcomes of the BRICS National Security Advisors meeting underscore the bloc's growing unity and ambition to address global challenges collectively. By focusing on economic security, multilateralism, and emerging threats like cybersecurity and terrorism, BRICS is positioning itself as a coalition with a holistic view of security, beyond the military focus that dominates organizations like NATO. Unlike NATO, whose primary focus remains on collective defense and military preparedness, BRICS emphasizes a more comprehensive approach to security that includes economic stability, cybersecurity, and global governance reforms. This approach is crucial in addressing the multifaceted nature of today's security challenges, which often have economic and political roots. The inclusion of high-ranking security officials from partner nations like Egypt, the UAE, Iran, and Ethiopia reflects BRICS's growing global reach. These countries, along with others that are seeking closer ties with BRICS, see the bloc as a viable alternative to Western-led international structures. As BRICS expands and deepens its cooperative frameworks, its influence in shaping global policies, particularly in the Global South, will only increase. Moreover, BRICS's focus on economic security and infrastructure development, especially through initiatives like the BRICS Development Bank, presents an attractive alternative to Western economic models, which are often seen as overly restrictive and tied to political conditions. The BRICS National Security Advisors meeting highlighted some of the key differences between BRICS and NATO. While NATO operates as a military alliance with a clear mandate of collective defense, BRICS takes a broader and more inclusive approach to security, focusing not only on military threats but also on economic, political, and technological dimensions. This makes BRICS a more comprehensive and structured organization in addressing the varied and interconnected challenges of the modern world. Unlike NATO, which is primarily a military alliance with a clear focus on defense against external threats, BRICS is structured around the idea of comprehensive security. The BRICS countries recognize that in the current global environment, security is not limited to military threats, but extends to issues such as economic stability, cybersecurity, political autonomy, and sustainable development. This broader understanding of security was a central theme during the 2024 meeting, where the representatives discussed how the geopolitical challenges of the 21st century, such as cyber threats and economic warfare, require a unified and multifaceted response. For instance, while NATO may respond to threats through military mobilization or sanctions, BRICS emphasizes cooperative economic strategies and development-oriented policies. By pooling resources for infrastructure projects, sharing technological advancements, and enhancing trade cooperation, BRICS aims to create a resilient economic foundation that can mitigate the effects of global shocks. This approach is seen as particularly beneficial for developing nations, many of whom have expressed a growing interest in closer alignment with BRICS. BRICS multilateralism advocates for a governance system that is more representative of emerging powers and developing nations, as opposed to NATO, which is rooted in Cold War-era military alliances. This vision was clearly outlined during the September 2024 meeting, where the security advisors voiced concerns over the current power imbalances in international institutions. One of the notable agreements was the collective push for reforms in global organizations like the United Nations, UN, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. The BRICS nations believe that these institutions must be restructured to provide more equitable representation and address the interests of a wider range of countries, particularly those in the Global South. The BRICS nations' call for greater representation aligns with their push for a multipolar world order. This contrasts sharply with NATO, which tends to align with Western political interests, led by the United States and its European allies. BRICS, on the other hand, offers an alternative model of governance where no single nation or bloc dominates, and international relations are grounded in principles of sovereignty, equality, and non-interference in internal affairs. One of the key distinctions between BRICS and NATO lies in the emphasis that BRICS places on economic security as a foundation for broader national and international security. During the 2024 meeting, economic security was a major point of discussion, with representatives agreeing that a stable and resilient economy is essential for maintaining national sovereignty and protecting against external pressures such as sanctions, economic coercion, and trade wars. The BRICS nations emphasize the importance of reducing dependency on Western-dominated financial systems, particularly the US dollar. By promoting local currency trade among member states and with partner nations, BRICS is working towards creating a more diversified and resilient global economy. This initiative, often referred to as de-dollarization, seeks to shield BRICS countries from the economic influence and sanctions regimes of Western powers. The BRICS Development Bank, NDB, plays a pivotal role in this strategy by providing an alternative source of funding for infrastructure projects and economic development, particularly in regions that are often underserved by institutions like the World Bank. In contrast, NATO does not directly focus on economic security as a core mandate, and its primary objective remains collective defense through military means. BRICS's emphasis on creating a stable economic environment underscores its more integrated and cooperative approach to security. As cybersecurity threats continue to grow, the BRICS NSAs meeting in 2024 dedicated significant attention to this issue. Cyber attacks, including state-sponsored hacking, ransomware, and digital espionage, pose an ever-increasing threat to national security and economic stability. Recognizing this, BRICS nations agreed on the importance of building a joint cybersecurity framework where members can share intelligence, best practices, and defensive technologies. The proposed BRICS Cybersecurity Task Force is intended to coordinate efforts to secure critical infrastructure, such as banking systems, energy grids, and communication networks from cyber threats. This initiative also includes establishing common policies on data privacy, internet governance, and the regulation of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, AI, and quantum computing. While NATO has also recognized the importance of cybersecurity, its focus remains largely military in nature, with an emphasis on protecting defense infrastructure and critical national assets of member states. BRICS, on the other hand, views cybersecurity as a broader, more inclusive challenge that requires both defensive and regulatory measures across various sectors of society and the economy. A key outcome of the 2024 BRICS NSAs meeting was the discussion around BRICS expansion and the inclusivity of its platform. While NATO has a relatively fixed membership structure based on shared military commitments and political ideologies, BRICS has taken a more flexible approach, offering a partnership model known as BRICS Plus. This framework allows non-member countries to engage with BRICS on economic, technological, and security issues without necessarily committing to full membership. Countries like Egypt, Iran, the UAE, and Ethiopia, which participated in the 2024 meeting, have expressed interest in closer ties with BRICS, and their involvement is seen as a first step toward possible expansion of the group. This expansion could potentially transform BRICS from a 5-member coalition into a broader international organization with significant influence in Africa, the Middle East, and South America. The inclusion of new members also strengthens BRICS's position as a leader of the Global South, offering an alternative to the Western-centric alliances such as NATO and G7. BRICS' appeal lies in its more inclusive and cooperative framework, which does not impose rigid political or military obligations on its members and partners. Instead, it focuses on mutual economic benefits and collective security. NATO is primarily a military alliance focused on collective defense under Article 5, which states that an attack on one member is an attack on all. It is deeply rooted in Cold War-era geopolitics and is heavily dominated by the United States. BRICS, on the other hand, is a coalition of emerging economies that addresses not only security, but also economic cooperation, development, and political coordination. BRICS is structured to promote multipolarity, economic resilience, and non-interference in internal affairs. NATO is narrowly focused on military and defense cooperation. Its mission is to deter aggression from external actors, with a particular focus on Europe and North America. BRICS, however, has a broader agenda that includes economic stability, global governance reforms, technological collaboration, and development. BRICS addresses global challenges from a multidimensional perspective, encompassing political, economic, and social issues. Decision-making in NATO is often driven by the interests of its leading members, particularly the United States, and tends to focus on military solutions to geopolitical problems. In contrast, decision-making in BRICS is based on consensus and mutual respect for the sovereignty of its members. This makes BRICS more flexible and adaptable to different geopolitical contexts. NATO's membership is limited to countries that meet specific military and political criteria. Expansion is often seen as a geopolitical move that can provoke tensions, especially with non-Western powers. BRICS, however, through its BRICS Plus framework, allows for greater inclusivity, enabling a diverse range of countries to engage with BRICS on economic and security matters without requiring full membership. This inclusivity enhances BRICS' appeal, particularly among developing nations. The September 2024 BRICS National Security Advisors meeting in St. Petersburg demonstrated the group's growing cohesion and influence on the global stage. By addressing a wide range of issues, from economic security to cyber threats, BRICS is positioning itself as a comprehensive and structured alternative to NATO and other Western-led alliances. The meeting underscored the bloc's commitment to multilateralism, economic cooperation, and the development of a more inclusive, multipolar world order. While NATO remains focused on military alliances and collective defense, BRICS offers a more holistic vision of global cooperation, with a strong emphasis on economic stability, technological collaboration, and inclusive governance. As BRICS continues to expand through its BRICS Plus framework, its influence on global security and economic governance will likely increase, making it a key player in shaping the future of international relations. In this context, the 2024 BRICS NSAs meeting can be seen as a milestone in the bloc's evolution, marking a new phase of strategic cooperation that has the potential to reshape global power dynamics. Through its structured and connected approach, BRICS is emerging as a robust counterbalance to Western alliances, offering a vision of global governance that is more equitable, inclusive, and multipolar.